Hello, everyone, and welcome to Bookercast, the podcast where books come to life.
And I'm so excited to dive into another amazing story with all of you.
Whether you're a bookworm or just love a good story, this is the place for you.
Every episode, we explore incredible books, talk about their stories and characters, and share insights that'll make you fall in love with reading all over again.
All right, let's not keep you waiting any longer. Get comfortable, and let's jump right into it.
Sounds good.
All right, let's dive into Joseph Heller's Catch-22.
Oh, yeah, Catch-22.
The satirical war novel, right?
Yeah.
It's considered like a landmark piece of literature.
Mm-hmm.
And for good reason. We're going to unpack why that is today.
It's interesting how Catch-22 can be both hilarious and deeply unsettling at the same time.
Yeah.
It's a really powerful critique of war and bureaucracy.
Yes, yeah.
And even though it was published back in 1961, its themes resonate even today.
Absolutely. The novel kind of throws us right into the world of World War II.
Right.
Where we meet Captain John Yossarian.
Mm-hmm.
He's a bombardier stationed on this fictional island of Pianosa.
Right.
Yossarian's our guide through this kind of maze of insane rules and these unforgettable characters.
Yeah.
But he's not your typical war hero.
Not at all.
Right.
Yossarian is desperate to get out of flying more of these combat missions.
Yeah, he's already done the required number.
Right.
But his superiors keep raising the bar.
Yeah, it's like they're deliberately trying to keep him trapped.
Yeah.
In this cycle of danger.
And that's where this whole concept of Catch-22 comes in.
Exactly. That's the absurd rule that prevents the airmen from being grounded even if they request it for insanity.
So the logic is just completely twisted.
Yeah.
Because requesting to be grounded because you're afraid of dying in combat shows sanity.
Right. A truly insane person wouldn't be afraid.
Right. It's this classic no-win situation. And Heller just really drives that point home with the structure of this novel.
Yeah.
Like we're constantly jumping back and forth in time.
Right.
Experiencing the war through Yossarian's fragmented memories and through these other characters' perspective.
That nonlinear narrative
is
crucial to understanding the psychological toll of war.
Yeah.
It mirrors the disorientation and chaos that Yossarian and his fellow soldiers are experiencing.
Like, for example, the scene where Yossarian discovers that he was the one moving the bomb line while sleepwalking. So this leads to him being ordered to fly even more missions.
Yeah.
It's both absurd and terrifying.
Absolutely. It perfectly encapsulates the absurdity of war.
Right.
And how the bureaucratic systems can dehumanize individuals. Yossarian is trapped in a system that is not only illogical, but also completely indifferent to his well-being.
And it's not just Yossarian.
Right.
The entire squadron is full of these, like...
larger-than-life.
Yeah, these larger-than-life characters, each one more eccentric than the last.
Yeah, Heller really uses these characters to shine a light on the different ways people cope with the trauma of war.
Right.
He uses dark humor to make these characters both comical and tragic.
I'm thinking of Yossarian's tent mate.
Yeah.
Who just seems so unfazed by this constant danger.
Yeah.
He's always like tinkering with his belongings.
Always prepared.
Yeah, he was preparing for something.
Right. And we find out later he was deliberately crashing his plane to prepare for his escape to Sweden.
Oh, yeah.
During training.
Wow.
It's a brilliant example of how Heller uses foreshadowing to build suspense and surprise on the surface, or seems like comic relief.
Right.
But his actions are actually incredibly calculated and subversive.
Yeah. He's definitely one of the more memorable characters in the book.
Yeah.
And there's Major.
Oh, my gosh. Yes.
Whose name is almost as absurd as his personality. He's the squadron commander, but he's so painfully shy.
He hides from his own men.
Yeah,
you have to catch him when he's not in his office to see him.
Right.
Another brilliant example of Catch-22 in action.
Yes.
It's like the system is designed to make even the simplest things impossible.
It's all so ridiculous, but Heller makes you laugh.
Right.
Even as you're cringing.
Yeah.
At the absurdity of it all.
That's the power of satire. It forces us to confront these uncomfortable truths by cloaking them in humor.
Yeah. And then we have Milo Minderbeiner.
Oh, yeah, Milo.
The NES officer.
Right.
He turns into this, like, entrepreneurial genius.
Right.
He creates this massive international syndicate.
He's trading with the enemy.
He's trading with the enemy.
Yeah, Milo's character is fascinating because he represents this unchecked ambition and greed.
It's crazy how he can rationalize anything in the name of business.
Oh, yeah.
Like at one point, he even bombs his own squadron as part of a deal.
That's what makes Milo such a compelling and disturbing character.
Yeah.
He embodies this idea that war can corrupt even the most seemingly innocent intentions.
It makes you wonder, what does it take to stay human in a system that seems designed to dehumanize you?
That's the central question that Yossarian is grappling with throughout the novel, and it's a question that we as readers are forced to confront as well.
Yossarian's struggle for survival is really the driving force of the story.
Yeah.
He's constantly trying to outsmart the system, find a way out of this madness. As the novel progresses, we see how this struggle takes a toll in mentally and emotionally. He starts to question everything, even his own sanity.
Absolutely.
That's what makes Catch-22 so much more than just a funny war story.
It's a deep exploration of the human psyche under duress.
You question everything you thought you knew about war.
Exactly.
About power, about morality.
And it's this layered complexity that keeps readers coming back to Catch-22 decades after its publication.
It's definitely a book that stays with you, when we come back. I would love to dive into some of the pivotal moments and symbolic elements that make this novel so powerful.
Sounds good.
What do you say?
Yeah, let's do it. One of the most pivotal moments in the novel, the one that really stuck with me, is the death of Snowden.
Snowden's death.
Yeah.
It's haunting.
Yeah, and it's not just the way he dies, but what his death reveals about the true cost of war.
Absolutely.
It happens during a bombing mission. And Yossarian is desperately trying to help Snowden, but it's too late.
It's too late.
And Heller's description of Snowden's insides spilling out,
oh, gosh.
It's gruesome.
Yeah.
And it really underscores the fragility of human life.
And that chilling phrase Snowden keeps repeating.
Oh, yeah.
I'm cold.
Yeah.
It's heartbreaking.
It represents the utter helplessness and vulnerability of these young men in the face of death. But what's even more disturbing is the reaction, or lack thereof, from the military bureaucracy.
They're more concerned with paperwork and regulations than with the loss of human life.
Snowden's death really drives home that dehumanizing nature of war.
Yes.
It's a system that can so easily disregard the individual in the name of the mission.
In the name of the mission.
Yeah, the bigger picture.
And it's not just Snowden's death. There are so many moments in this novel where Yossarian tries to point out the absurdity of the situation, but he's just met with indifference or even hostility.
Like when Yossarian tries to get out of flying missions by pretending to be crazy.
Oh, yeah.
He walks around naked, marches backward, tries to sabotage the intercom system.
Tries to sabotage everything.
But the doctors and officers are more concerned with whether his actions are regulation crazy than whether he's genuinely struggling.
It's like they can't or won't see the human cost of their decisions.
They're so caught up in the rules and regulations that they've lost sight of basic human compassion.
Doc Danica is another great example of this.
Oh, yeah, Doc Danica.
He's the flight surgeon, but terrified of flying himself.
Right. Constantly worried about his own mortality.
Yes.
But seemingly indifferent to the very real dangers.
Right.
Faced by the men he's supposed to be caring for.
He's obsessed with statistics, regulations, almost as if he can control death by quantifying it.
It's a form of denial.
It is.
Yeah. Dr. Danica represents this detachment from reality that can happen when you're too entrenched in the system. He's more concerned with theoretical dangers than with the actual lives at stake.
And then we have Colonel Cathcart.
Oh, yeah.
Whose ambition is almost as boundless as his obliviousness.
Cathcart is so fixated on getting promoted that
Yes.
he's willing to risk the lives of his men
I know, it's sickening.
to achieve his goal,
Really?
He keeps raising the number of missions
Yeah.
they have to fly, even though it puts them in increasing danger.
He embodies this like blind ambition
Yeah.
that can be so destructive.
And yet he's completely unaware of the suffering he's causing. He's trapped in his own little world of power and prestige.
And Milo Minderbinder
Yeah, Milo.
is another character who starts out with these good intentions, but ends up losing his way.
Loses his way.
His obsession with his business ventures becomes so all-consuming that he forgets about the human cost
Forgets the cost.
of his actions.
Milo's transformation is fascinating. He starts out as this well-meaning mess officer, wants to provide good food for his fellow soldiers, but he quickly becomes a ruthless profiteer, willing to do business with anyone, even the enemy.
Even the enemy.
It's a cautionary tale about the corrupting power of greed and ambition.
It highlights this central question that the novel keeps raising. Where do you draw the line? How do you maintain your humanity in a system that seems designed to strip it away?
That's what makes Catch-22 such a powerful and thought-provoking book.
It's not just about the absurdity of war, it's about the absurdity of any system that prioritizes power and profit over human life.
And Heller does this brilliantly. Not just through the characters and plot, but through his use of language.
The dark humor.
The dark humor, the wordplay, the way he creates these absurd situations that are both funny and terrifying at the same time.
It's like he's holding up a mirror to the absurdity of the world. And forcing us to confront it.
One of the most powerful examples of this is the recurring image of the soldier in white. Yossarian keeps encountering this nameless soldier who's always on the verge of death. He even sees him in a brothel in Rome, bandaged from head to toe, suspended in this elaborate contraption.
It's such a haunting image.
It is haunting. It represents the constant presence of death in war, the way it lurks around every corner.
It's this reminder that even in the midst of life, death is always there just waiting.
And it's not just the imagery. Think about the dialogue. The way Heller uses language to create these circular arguments.
These illogical scenarios that perfectly capture the essence of Catch-22.
Like when Yossarian is trying to explain Catch-22 to Doc Danica. He says, "There's nothing wrong with me. I'm perfectly sane." And Doc Danica replies, "If you were sane, you wouldn't be trying to get out of combat duty."
It's a perfect example of how Heller uses language to trap his characters and the reader in these absurd situations that have no logical escape.
It's like he's saying, this is the world we live in. A world where logic and reason have no power. Where you're damned if you do and damned if you don't.
And that's what makes Yossarian's journey throughout the novel so compelling. He starts out as this somewhat naive young man who just wants to survive the war. But as he experiences more and more of its horrors, he becomes increasingly disillusioned and cynical. And his cynicism eventually turns into a form of rebellion. He refuses to play by the rules anymore. He refuses.
His decision to desert is a powerful act of defiance. It's a rejection of the logic of Catch-22 and an assertion of his individual right to choose life over death.
It's a risky move, but it's also incredibly hopeful.
It is hopeful. It shows that even in the face of overwhelming odds, there's always the possibility of escape, of breaking free from the madness.
Yossarian's act of desertion is a powerful symbol of hope. It's a reminder that we always have a choice, even when it seems like we don't.
And I love how Heller doesn't tie everything up neatly with a bow at the end. You don't know if Yossarian will make it to Sweden and truly find freedom.
It's open-ended.
That open ending is brilliant. It leaves us with this lingering question.
What's the question?
What will we do when faced with our own Catch-22? Will we succumb to the absurdity? Or will we find the courage to break free?
That's a great question.
It's a question that's just as relevant today as it was when the novel was first published.
Think about all the systems we navigate in our own lives.
The corporate world.
The
political landscape. Even our social media interactions. Aren't there echoes of Catch-22 in all of these spaces?
It's everywhere. The endless paperwork, the illogical rules, the pressure to conform, to obey, even when it goes against our own sense of right and wrong.
Catch-22 is a reminder that the absurdity of war is not confined to the battlefield. It can exist anywhere that power is concentrated, where rules are used to control and dehumanize.
You know, one of the things that strikes me about Catch-22 is how it manages to be both a scathing critique of war and a deeply human story.
That's what makes it such a powerful and enduring work of literature. It's not just about the horrors of war. It's about the resilience of the human spirit. The way we find ways to cope, to resist, even in the face of unimaginable absurdity.
Catch-22 isn't just a novel. It's a cultural touchstone. The phrase itself has entered our everyday language.
Right.
A shorthand for any situation where you're trapped by illogical rules.
Right, or conditions.
Or conditions.
And it's had a huge impact on other works of art.
Yes.
You see its influence in films, television shows, even music.
Right.
It's a testament to Heller's brilliance that decades later, Catch-22, continues to spark debate, provoke laughter, and inspire reflection.
It's definitely a book that stays with you.
It is.
We've covered a lot of ground today.
We have.
But there's always more to unpack with a novel.
Right.
It's rich and complex as Catch-22.
Absolutely.
I'm curious to hear your thoughts on what makes this novel a classic.
Okay.
Why do you think it continues to resonate with readers today?
Well, I think Catch-22 is a classic because it really taps into something universal about the human experience.
Right.
It's a story about war, But it's also about the struggle against oppressive systems of power, the search for meaning in this chaotic world, and just the importance of holding on to your humanity. Even when everything around you is designed to strip it away.
It's like speaking directly to those anxieties and frustrations we all feel when we're confronted with bureaucracy, with illogical rules, people in positions of authority who just seem to have lost touch with reality.
And because Heller presents these themes through satire, he's able to make us laugh at the absurdity of it all, even as we're recognizing these very real dangers of unchecked power and blind obedience.
It's that blend of humor and horror that makes Catch-22 so unique and effective. You know, you're constantly shifting between laughter and despair. Just like Yossarian himself.
And I think that's why it continues to resonate with readers today.
Yeah.
We might not be fighting in World War II, but we all face our own Catch-22s in our daily lives.
Oh, yeah.
We're trapped in systems that seem designed to keep us down, to make us feel powerless.
Yes.
We encounter rules that make no sense.
Right.
Bosses that prioritize profit over people.
Ugh, it's the worst.
Situations that just seem impossible to escape.
Yeah, but Catch-22 offers this, like, glimmer of hope.
Right.
Yossarian's decision to desert, to break free from the madness, reminds us that we always have a choice.
We do.
We can choose to conform, to obey, to play by the rules of the game.
Right.
Or we can choose to resist, to rebel, to find our own path.
Absolutely. It's a powerful message.
It is powerful.
And one that I think is especially relevant in a world that often feels increasingly chaotic and absurd.
Catch-22 is a call to action.
It is.
It's a reminder that we can't just sit back and accept the absurdity of the world around us. We have to fight for our sanity, for our humanity, for our freedom.
And sometimes that fight involves breaking the rules, challenging the status quo, and refusing to play by a game that's rigged against us.
That's a lesson we can all take away from Catch-22.
Absolutely.
Well, I don't know about you, but I feel like I've gained a whole new appreciation for this novel.
I think you'll find new layers of meaning.
Yeah.
With each reading, it's a book that grows with you.
It really is. And hopefully it'll inspire us all to be a little bit more like Yossarian.
Yeah.
To question authority, to challenge the absurd, and to never give up hope of finding our own way out of the madness.
Well said.
Well, that about wraps up our deep dive into Catch-22.
Yes.
Thank you all so much for joining us today.
It's been a pleasure.
We hope you enjoyed this exploration of Heller's masterpiece and that it sparked some interesting thoughts and conversations. Remember, keep questioning, keep laughing, and never let the world extinguish that spark of defiance within you.
And that's a wrap for today's episode of Bookercast. We hope you enjoyed diving into it as much as we did. Thank you so much for spending your time with us. Your support means the world, and we can't wait to hear your thoughts on this episode.
Don't forget to subscribe, hit that like button, and share this episode with your fellow book lovers. And let us know your thoughts in the comments below. We love hearing from you. See you in the next deep dive. Bye for now, and happy reading.